Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Dan O'Weiler here from Sterling Financial. Hi.
How are you, Lisa?
Good. How are you?
I was watching the picture of that flower or whatever bush.
Yes, the succulent.
I wish I could grow like that. All my stuff dies.
Oh, shoot. Well, you know what? Succulents are probably the easiest to keep alive, so you need to get one of those.
Just water and they take care of themselves?
Barely any water. They are very drought tolerant.
I probably need some of those.
You need some of those. All right. So we were talking actually off camera, and, you know, every time the IRS comes up with something, it always is a convoluted thing, right? So here we're talking about the Irs Secure Act, and there's some regulations that went into place. First of all, tell me what this is.
Okay, so first of all, the IRS tax code is about 3,000 pages, or
of course it is
50,000 pages. I don't know how long it is, but anyway, distributions for IRAs are in a publication called 590 of the IRS code.
Okay.
And 590 of the IRS code is about 150 pages of small print that tells you how to take distributions from retirement accounts.
Okay.
IRAs, 401ks,
right.
403bs, any type of retirement plan that you have to take what is called required minimum distributions.
And that's always the case?
That's always been the case,
okay.
But in 2019, when the Secure Tax Act was passed at the end of 2019, they changed how distributions took for what they call designated beneficiaries. Okay, so they established two classes of beneficiaries, eligible designated beneficiary and non-eligible. You know, you and I talked about it always has to be so technical.
Yeah.
Why can't we just make it simple? Well, the IRS never does anything that's simple. It used to be that when you left money to a beneficiary, they could take it just like you did over their lifetimes.
Okay.
So based upon your life expectancy, you had a factor that you had to divide your retirement account into, and I mean, long story short, you had to take required distributions.
Yeah.
Well, that changed with that Secure Act.
Okay.
Now they have what is called eligible designated beneficiaries, which are spouse and children and disabled people or, you know, chronically ill. And non-designated beneficiaries, those are things like trusts or just individuals that you know, nieces or nephews that you give it to.
Okay.
Depending upon which you are will depend upon how you take it out. And so it's changed a lot.
Okay.
And over the last 2 years or so, the IRS was very vague on whether or not you had to take out non-designated beneficiaries over the 10-year period, or if you could just wait for 10 years and take everything out.
I see.
So, you know, they've kind of clarified things and says, well, if you're a non-designated beneficiary, you have to take out a minimum amount each year, but it has to be liquidated by the end of 10 years.
Oh.
This is all technical stuff for your residents here that they don't understand, and it's very difficult for advisors to really keep up with the IRS sometimes, but it's important to know that you can't just leave a retirement account to a person and expect them to have to spread it out over their lifetime, because it depends upon what kind of beneficiary they are.
So when they're doing, or they're speaking with you and maybe they're preparing a trust or something like that, this would be designated in that trust, is that correct?
Well, not necessarily, because you can leave, you know, a trust does not have a life expectancy. It's an entity, not a person.
Okay.
And so that a trust can never be an eligible designated beneficiary unless it's what they call a see-through trust. So it gets more technical than that, but that's why you pay somebody to do it correctly for you.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's kind of like I can do my own will or trust,
Yeah.
but you generally are going to pay somebody to do that for you.
Right.
It's all this is technical garbage until you sit down with somebody and they can kind of explain it to you a little bit easier.
Right, and that's why we have you here, because you're going through all of that for
I don't
us.
know about that. I was noticing up on the screen that they had all the things you were supposed to read. And that's just gobbledygook to people.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think the important thing, like you just said, is that you're here to help us, kind of weed through all of these things. Let me ask you this. So if on your 401k, or you're designating beneficiaries. So let's say I designated, my daughter to be my recipient, right?
Okay.
So I pass, and now she has to do what?
She has to take what they call required minimum distributions.
Okay.
And it's based upon her age at the time.
I see.
So let's assume that you had $100,000 in your IRA account.
Okay.
And her life expectancy factor is 35. Okay. She would have to divide 35 into 100,000, and that's how much she would have to take out. So it's probably.
And is that monthly, or how does that work?
No, on an annual basis.
Oh, on an annual basis. I see.
And they can take that monthly as long as
Gotcha.
it adds up to the amount that she's supposed to take.
Got it.
And so it's a little bit technical, but the IRS is never simple,
Well, no. So why did they change it? What was the purpose?
Well, they wanted more tax money.
Of course they did.
Okay. So rather than, now they came up with these non-designated or non-eligible beneficiaries. They have to take it out over 10 years versus their lifetime. So if you left it to your niece who wasn't a child, or your child, they would have to take it out over 10 years versus over their lifetime.
I see.
So they're kind of saying, okay, we're going to get our money sooner rather than later.
Okay, but then also it might go along with the same lines as having the IRS watch, right? They're now only having to look at it for 10 years as opposed to maybe 30 years.
Right.
I see.
When you say watch, that's a relative term, Do they watch you file your taxes? No, but if you get audited, they're not going to watch you and determine whether or not you took out your required minimum distributions. But if you get audited, then there's penalties and things like that. Speaking of penalties, if you don't take your required minimum distribution, there's a 50% penalty.
Oh, yikes.
So if she was supposed to take out $3,000 for the year and she didn't do that, it's a $1,500 penalty, plus she still has to take out the required distributions, which creates more tax. So you don't want to forget taking out your required minimum distribution.
That's kind of like, don't forget to uncheck a box.
Right.
If you're going to have renewals of some payment every month. See,
Correct.
That's kind of weird, but
Correct.
It's understandable because that's just the way it goes with the IRS.
I mean, distributions from retirement accounts is much different than distributions from a regular brokerage account or something like that. You can take it out and not have any problems. Retirement accounts are a special animal, and you kind of have to be careful on that. And a lot of times we're talking about this with our seminar people, and they didn't even know that you had to take money out of your retirement accounts.
No, in fact, I just heard about that the other day, and I'm like, oh, you do? So so really good stuff.
Right.
Now, if somebody wants to know more about this specifically, or of course to contact you.
I wouldn't want to know more about it specifically.
Well, I think you should if you've got folks who you're trying to designate your 401s to.
Yeah, just generally speaking, most of the time, if for your own 401k, let's say, and you turn age 72 when you have to start taking those out.
Yeah.
Your custodian should be telling you how much you have to take out every year.
Okay.
So you do that.
Okay.
You'll get a statement at the end of the year in December saying, okay, for 2023, you have to take out X amount of dollars.
I see.
That's up to you at that point.
Right.
But they've just informed you how much you have to take out. So.
Right, but you're going to have to make sure you do it like you said. So.
I usually set it up automatically with my clients. We'll say, okay, every April or every November, send them X amount of dollars for the required minimum distribution. Goes right into their bank account, and we're satisfied. I have some clients that say, no, I want to do it myself, and that's okay. The problem with that is if the person that's doing it becomes sick, and the spouse doesn't realize it, and I've had that happen before, they miss it, and then they have that penalty. So I generally like to set it up automatically, but people, have different opinions.
No, but see, I'm glad that you came in and helped us understand this because, you know, obviously reading this.
Well, I'm glad you understand it because I don't.
Well, okay then, I guess we're switching jobs. No, thank you so much. And of course, if someone wants to get in touch with you, they can always go to your website.
Sure.
As well as your phone number that's on our screen right now. And it's sterlingfa.com and your phone number is 859-8900.
It is.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Good to be here.
Good to see you. All right. And of course, for all of the information we have just discussed, including the Irs Secure Act, you can always contact Sterling Financial at sterlingfa.com. We'll be right back.
Hi folks, this is Dan O'Weiler with Sterling Financial Advisors. We've been around for a long time, been on this day with Lisa, and just wanted to know that we're still in business, even through the pandemic. We still have the opportunity to now meet with people individually, in person, and we'd like to invite you to give us a call if it would make some sense. If you're doing some planning for retirement, please give us a call. We'll be happy to meet with you. Thanks so much.